Arsenal have climbed their way up back to the top of the Premier League table in what is most likely a much more competitive title challenge this season. You have multiple teams involved. Obviously, Man City are there. Liverpool, I think, have overcome a lot of their issues from last year that they suffered from. Even Aston Villa at the moment are absolutely flying up in top four for the first time since 2009. Aston Villa under Unai Emery, of course, ex-Arsenal manager. As much as I hate to say it, Tottenham, I mean, they've lost 3 games in a row. Sure, they've been sort of plagued with injuries all out of nowhere. And of course, many teams are missing players, Arsenal included, City, Liverpool missing plenty of players themselves. But 3 losses in a row for a team that just a couple weeks ago sat first place. We had to hear all about it. Seeing Tottenham lose is always a good experience, but still only 4 points off of first place. And if Manchester United, go on to win today, then they will drop Tottenham down to 6th place. So that's quite the fall. Very Spursy. First place to 6th place in the matter of 4 weeks. 2 of those weeks including the international break, of course, so no Premier League football. But let's go on to more important things. Aaron Ramsdale getting his first start yesterday against Brentford. Obviously, just out of sort of default, he wasn't going to play Karl Hein. Mikel Arteta, of course. David Raya not eligible to play against his parent club. Of course, that deal's still just a loan, although there's a lot of rumors that they're going to make it official at the end of the season, which probably was always likely. And unless he had some horrible loan spell, David Raya, very good keeper, so that was extremely unlikely. But, again, speaking of good goalkeepers, Aaron Ramsdale, very worrying first half. I don't know what you put it down to exactly. You could blame anything you want. He's nervous, whatever you want to say. Nothing will justify the shaky performance that he had in the first half. I thought the second half he was very good, much more confident. I had put a tweet out mentioning that I hope Arteta can go in there, put his arm around him, and sort of say, look, this is your game. Show us what you've been showing us the last couple of years. You've been here and you've been the number one. You've got the fans behind him cheering at him, and it's sad to see that a couple of years ago he would have been right in it. Even the interview he gave, two weeks ago or so, he was talking about distractions and dealing with concentrating on in the middle of a game. Completely taken out of context, what people did. Twitter, of course, that's what they do. That's what that platform is for. It's not for critical thought, but defending Aaron Ramsdale is something I'll always do. He's obviously a top goalkeeper. He showed that since he's been at Arsenal, and David Raya coming in for competition. I think Arteta always had something in mind for Raya to be the number one. So whether that remains true or not, we will see. But could that have been Aaron Ramsdale's last game in an Arsenal shirt? I can't believe I'm saying that. I think the positives he's had in his Arsenal career far outweigh any of the negatives that he's had. You could look at yesterday and say what you want about Aaron Ramsdale. He's obviously a very good goalkeeper. I can't stress that enough. I've said it 100 times already in this video. People want to go at him for the teams he's been relegated on, but there is not one player you can single out at fault for relegation. Doesn't matter how bad they are. One player cannot relegate a team, and he's always been a good shot stopper, commanding his box. We just didn't see it yesterday. We haven't really seen it over the course of this year when he first started before Raya came in. But again, I think Aaron Ramsdale had a much better start, a much stronger start to his Arsenal career than David Raya has. Those first couple games he looked good, and then he got a little shaky, couple poor passes, a little, couple moves that made you nervy. And again, maybe that is just down to nerves. But, looking at Emi Martinez's performance today, I've always said this, that we never should have sold him. I would have loved for Martinez to stay. At Arsenal, of course, he'd been there, over a decade or just a decade, or, but obviously an Arsenal man, and just, I think, stepped up during that FA Cup, demanded that he played, and I think Arteta is not a man you demand something from. So he was out the door pretty quickly. But fantastic goalkeeper as well. I thought he could have always been the Arsenal number one. David Raya, and I don't really see big differences between him and Ramsdale. I really, really don't. They're both good with their feet. Raya has this reputation of Spanish goalkeepers are apparently born with better abilities with the ball at their feet. I don't know if that's true, especially when it comes to goalkeepers. But Ramsdale has showed time and time again, even yesterday, that his distribution is top class. It just comes down to what the manager wants, and it just seems like this could be the end for Aaron Ramsdale, and I don't really know where it went wrong, you can let me know what you think on Ramsdale. Of course, first half, second half yesterday seemed like a totally different player. Again, I think maybe that comes down to Arteta having a word with him in the dressing room. The players clearly love him. Look at his Instagram post. Look at the mistake after the mistake that he made. Fans coming, not fans, Saliba, Gabriel Zinchenko, Tomiyasu, everybody's coming up to him and hand on the back. Jorginho was doing it in the second half, and that's what you love to see. It's certainly a tight-knit team, these guys, and look, it's just really, really sad to see this ending the way it is for Ramsdale. Has it ended? No, but it just seems so likely, especially when you look at Mikel Arteta's words after the game yesterday. Spoke about his courage and his bravery. Of course, he's never going to talk down to a player. Arteta, you have to acknowledge that. It's something he'll never do. But that did seem to sort of avoid the big questions he was being asked. If you look at his face after that first Aaron Ramsdale mistake, that after the one that Declan Rice had cleared off the line, it tells you everything. And I don't know if it's he doesn't trust him all of a sudden, or things that he sees. Maybe it's the interviews. Arteta doesn't like that. I don't know what it is, but it's certainly sad to see it ending this way. And again, who do you bring in if Ramsdale goes on loan? Because surely you have to bring somebody in. Are you going to trust your number two to be Karl Hein? God forbid David Raya gets injured or something like that. You have a Champions League. You've got FA Cup matches. You've got the Premier League. There's a lot of questions to be asked about that goalkeeper position. And can you bring someone in who's happy with being a number two? Because you've just brought in David Raya to be your number one, or to give competition, whatever it is. With the way Mikel puts it is very frustrating sometimes. So who can you bring in? Who's good enough to bring in? That will push Raya and be okay with maybe being just a number two. David De Gea, maybe out of contract. That's something that came to mind. I don't think that would be very smart, but you never know. Arteta seems to have a thing for buying players that have not quite lived up to expectations. Kai Havertz, for example, maybe Jorginho could also fit there. We'll see what happens there. But just one more thing about Ramsdale. On Instagram, he said in a post, I quote, "It is a feeling I never take for granted. I love being part of this club. Fans were next level last night, looking out for me. Thank you." That almost seems like a goodbye in a way, but again, I don't want to read too much into it. And I think I've spent most of this video talking about Ramsdale. So, you can let me know what you think about him, what you think about Raya, and if he does go, Wolves apparently asking for him on loan with an option to buy in January. Who do you bring in? Who is another goalkeeper that you can bring in, that you can fully trust in the case of Raya getting injured? It doesn't seem like Arteta is the guy who is rotating goalkeepers for the Champions League and the Premier League. If he does it for the FA Cup, that seems more likely. Totally different competition. Let me know who you think we could bring in. I think moving on now to Kai Havertz, his work rate finally paying off with a goal yesterday, 1-0. Obviously, Arsenal winning scoring the winning goal. Kai Havertz, to put us top of the table. That has to feel good for him. You think, I still don't know what his job is exactly in that side, because he does so much. He's working defensively, offensively. He does his best in the build-up. He's really everywhere, and it's sort of a bit of a shadow, a bit of a silhouette of that Granit Xhaka role last year that he played so well. In fact, doing it obviously over there in the Bundesliga under Xabi Alonso for Leverkusen. a player I obviously miss every time I watch an Arsenal game or a Leverkusen game for that matter. So he may not be as sharp as Granit, but look, it took Granit Xhaka 6 years to get comfortable with himself really in an Arsenal shirt, and sort of reinvented over his last year under Arteta. So, if the question is, do you trust Mikel to get the best out of Kai Havertz? I don't know yet. Unfortunately, I'm not willing to commit to that yet. I know that's it's a bit too neutral for video analyzing a player in an Arsenal game, but it's just hard to say. He's definitely not who he was at Leverkusen. Definitely not the Chelsea player, Kai Havertz. But Arteta has maybe gotten a little bit more out of him. It's just it's only been a couple months, half a season. So let's just hold off on that. Let's see if he can keep getting. If the fans and the players can keep getting behind Kai Havertz, I think we'll see the best of him. Obviously, Arteta is a man who trusts him. You saw his reaction after the game, after the goal. He brought him over to the away fans to get a round of applause. He said, Kai Havertz, that's not something he would have done himself. He wants Kai to feel loved, and that he is. That the fans do have gratitude for him and his work rate. And, there's no doubt about it. He does work his ass off, Kai Havertz. So it was really, really nice to see him get that goal. It meant a lot. Obviously, that goal, like I've said already, it was a winning goal, and it's the goal that brought Arsenal back to the top of the table. So, it's funny, Kai Havertz scoring that goal and Chelsea getting battered 4-1. Havertz got the same amount of goals as Martial, as Højlund, as Anthony, Sancho, Garnacho, and Rashford put together. So obviously Garnacho scored that worldly today, so I had to alter the script a little bit, but it just makes things all the more sweeter. So yeah, let's end it there. I've rambled a bit too much in this video. Obviously Odegaard back yesterday. Good to see him on the pitch. 85 minutes under his belt. Declan Rice, man of the match again. What can you say? Him and Zinchenko with goal-saving clearances on the line. Zinchenko overall, I think, doing way better defensively as of late. So yeah, let's end it there, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you've made it this far, I do really appreciate it, and I will see